All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Psykos Platters. This one here is a slight special episode, and I mean by slight is that, before I get into this, I'd like to thank all of my subscribers. As of this morning, it is now 526. Ever since I went off and announced the 500 subs contest, go look at video, please, if you're interested in entering. A couple people have put up their videos already. Thank you, Jeff. I will be looking at it right after this broadcast, and others as well. Always powered by coffee, each and every time. But now another milestone, at least for Mighty Psycho, has been obtained and established and overtook, if that's really a word. Congratulations. I have just overpassed the 50,000 view mark. Yes, you know, it took 5.5 years to do, but 50,000 views, ladies and gentlemen. The last time I think I did an episode was for 10,000 views. And that was about 2.5 years back. So people are watching and people are subbing now, but I mean, I've had a lot of views on my videos. Some of them more than others. But I'm very thankful for all, you know, subscribers, and yes, people that haven't come around yet, per se. But I'm very happy to be able to say thank you to all of them. And I just thought maybe I'd shoot. This is going to be like, I think I'm going to call this 50,000 views and picking on Psyko Part 2, because that's what we're going to do in this episode. I found more ticket stubs and a little bit of bonus stories that have to do with concerts and silliness. Let me get to silliness really quick. I know, you didn't ask for this. This is Mighty Psycho with Santa Claus. I was Santa Claus for a couple of years at the Walmart down here. Oh yeah. Kids seem to love me too. Even the women, though. True story. Alright. This one here, this is for my son. Tony Bennett original sheet music. Yes, he is a huge Tony Bennett fan. Who's he a bigger fan of? Bigger than Tony Bennett? Sam Cooke. Yes. My almost 30-year-old son, I raised him right, didn't I? But yes, if I remember correctly, this is from 1950. It was from the movie I Was an American Spy. Oh no, excuse me, 1940. Yeah, 1940. So you're talking almost World War II coming into that bit. So, okay, I've got a bunch of ticket stubs here and various pictures. We're just going to go at random. First thing I'm seeing right off the bat, I'm surprised I have both of these. This is tickets, Boone County Fair, Friday, August 13, 2004. Cost me $15 to go see George Jones. Very glad I saw George Jones. He was sober. Yes, he was. He wasn't late. Although the announcer always was like, is he going to make it or isn't he? Whatever. I heard he got sober in the 90s. The one nice thing, though, about the Boone County Fair, and yes, it's a county fair, and yes, they had some grandstands. I've seen bigger county fairs that I've been to for concerts. This one, not as many seats in my opinion for a country show, and I was able to walk up to the lip of the stage and start taking pictures of George and his band. I got to shoot the shit with his mandolin player, who he was with for 20 years at that point. So he was there at least since the mid-'80s on. I have a picture of me and him, I think even on my Facebook, I can't remember. George was not the headliner for this gig. It was actually, there was two bands that night. George opened up for Trick Pony. I briefly interacted with Trick Pony, which seemed like a one-trick pony. I don't know. I just remember them taking out that the mirrored bass, I call it, because it was so shiny you could see yourself. I was at the almost at stage left, backstage borderline, because some handler came out of George's tour bus and he took all of our items to be signed. So I was very grateful. I do have a George Jones autograph. I have a signed book, but I do have another George Jones autograph CD, if I remember correctly. All right, I think we'll go to the ticket stubs before I go to the other extra things. This one here, November 17, 2009, Third Eye Blind at Barnhill Arena in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Not one of my favorite shows. I hate to admit this. The Barnhill Arena has done concerts not so much over the last 4 or 5 years now that the amp has been built and other things, and the Walton Arts Center has expanded. This was kind of a disaster of a concert, honestly. The seats that I originally were supposed to have didn't physically exist. It was a very weird ticketing system, and I was pissed. I think that's half the reason why I didn't enjoy the show, is because of that, honestly. But, I mean, I'll admit, I walked into this band, you know, only knowing Semi-Charmed Life. Seriously. So, Third Eye Blind. Don't remember if there was an opening act. Okay, June 17, 2006, Woodstock Opera House, Lawrence Juber. Yes, Lawrence Juber. If that name sounds familiar to you, good. If it doesn't sound familiar to you, I'll tell you who it is. Lawrence Juber was the guitarist in the last incarnation of Wings. Yes, if I remember correctly, I think he showed up shortly after London Town. I think so. But before Back to the Egg. So he was on the Good Night Tonight single, and then they did Back to the Egg. One of the best underrated Wings albums, honestly. I got to tell Lawrence that. He did a meet and greet in the middle of the show. That's when he did his intermission. And I got him to sign, I think I showed it in a previous episode, I got him to sign Back to the Egg LP, which is great. I brought the spare Campuchia album I had, and I let my friend Kathy have that. We both went and saw that gig. I thought that was pretty awesome. Got to talk to him about that concert, actually, and back in 2006, he originally had contacted Atlantic Records and tried to get the movie and the CD released. Here we are, 2018, it's still not out. I don't know what the hell the problem is, but I know YouTube's got some of it. There's some good bootlegs out there, and I'm not talking about just the Wings show, but there's a bunch of other bands, Who, Queen, a bunch of other ones, Clash, Pretenders, excellent stuff. But Lawrence is coming back in September down here, so I think I'm going to go torture him again. Go to lawrencejuber.com. He's got excellent solo CDs. His guitar picking is fantastic. Alright, VIP guest, Saturday, August 11th, for Barry Williams of the Brady Bunch. Yeah, I met Greg. Very, very nice guy Greg was, honestly. He signed the Best of the Brady Bunch CD that I had. I did finally find my Christmas album, of course, after all the rest of my collection moved here. I wish I could get him to sign that, but so yeah, really nice guy. And as an added bonus, Yakov Smirnoff, which was his theater, you know, the guy that goes, "What the country?" He was there, and I got to meet him and take pictures too with him as well. Let's see, Third Eye, we already talked about that. Here's one. Actually, really good show. November 3rd, 2011. An evening with the John Oates Band. It was at the UARC Event Center. Very small place. I mean, I'm not kidding you. There was probably only 50 people showed up at this thing, which is an injustice. There should have been a lot more people. Go on the channel of mine here. I actually filmed a couple clips. I got permission, and I filmed a couple clips of that performance way back. You're going to have to go back to late 2011, early 2012 for that. But excellent show. And he stayed afterwards, and I got him to sign his, at that time, Mississippi Mile was his solo CD. He's got a few solo albums out. And then I got him to sign the Hall & Oates LP Voices. But interesting arrangements with Maneater and a few other ones from Hall & Oates. This one here, October 21st, figures it doesn't have a date, but I want to say it's 2005, an evening with actually afternoon with Marshall Tucker Band. At that time frame, it's Doug Gray is still the only original member out of that one, but he, him and his band do a very good job. Chris Hicks used to be with the Outlaws in the 80s. He was on at least 1 or 2 albums, and he's on the guitar. B.B. Borden, who was a drummer for Mother's Finest and on a Molly Hatchet album, he plays drums. He's been playing drums with them for quite a while, and I got to talk to all of them pretty much, and then some. BB kind of laughed when I brought the Hatchet album No Guts, No Glory, because that's the only one he drums on. And I said, BB, you look like a 12-year-old kid. Because he does. If you've got the back of that album, go look. But I didn't have any Mother's Finest albums. Now I've got a handful of Mother's Finest albums. But I taped the whole gig. I did on my Walkman. Yes, front row. I know I'm such a geek. Front row. And I taped everything. Except for the band introductions, because I didn't have time. I knew I wasn't going to, and it perfectly fit on 2 90-minute cassettes. Seriously, or was it a 90-minute cassette? No, it was a 90-minute cassette. Perfectly fit on a 90-minute cassette. So I'm glad that I actually got that. Eventually, I want to let Tucker know that I've got it, because I think it's important. I think they'd like that. November 2006. One of the worst shows I ever went to, unfortunately. Hemmons Auditorium in Elgin, Illinois. Eric Burden and the new, and he says, and the Animals. The ad really said New Animals. Oh, it was that was the most horrible concert I think I ever went to, honestly. I was very pleased to see Eric Burden. None of the arrangements for the songs were even close to the records. They went all completely off base. It was ridiculous. I bought the new solo album at that time, and even I got it home. It was a German import. I can't remember the name of the title of it. I'm sorry. And I think I only like 2 songs off it. I'm like, what is this? And the only song that came close to the arrangement was Sky Pilot towards the end of the show. I remember that. All the rest of them, he did all the rest. It's My Life, Gotta Get Out of This Place, all of them. And all of them just did not sound right. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Don't Bring Me Down, any of those. They brought me down all right. But I'll tell you this, though. Another little story that happened about this gig. I went there with my friends Scott and Kathy. And I hung around by the backstage door, which is kind of weird. It's not outdoor. It's an indoor backstage door. It's kind of strange. And I went off and commented. I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to see him. I said, it appears there's fan club people. I'm not going to get in. As soon as I got done saying that, I had some guy, I didn't even know because I was talking to my buddy. He goes, boom, puts it on. I'm like, holy shit, I thought this guy was, pushing me. No, he was being nice. He gave me a VIP patch. I think I still got it. I have it on the set list somewhere. I do, because I copped a set list from the stage. And so I'm like, what the hell? Awesome. So I ended up going down into the green room, which is ridiculous. It's like a couple floors down. And it was really cool. They had a full spread. They had champagne, blah, 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 blah. The band was down there. No Eric. Eric already left. I was so pissed. I had the new CD. I had an Animals album. I had Eric Burden and War. Not the first one, the second one. With the War Bond insert. Yeah, I found that. And I was so pissed. I almost took a bottle of champagne. And and it turned out the guy that gave me the pass, he was equally pissed. And I'm like, Eric already left for the hotel. I'm like, what the hell? Then why are you having a meet and greet if Eric left and he ain't coming back? Pissed me off to no end on that. Yeah, he went off in a car and drove and sneakily went out. I guess he didn't. There was a couple people waiting outside, and he didn't even acknowledge them either. You want a good laugh? You want a good laugh of what I looked like in 2000, 2001 at WCRX? Oh, yeah. I know, I was a geek. I was 32. I know it's a little late in the game, but I was 32. And, I mean, I did some radio before this, but not much. But I kind of miss those days. God, I miss those days. Alright, Tri-Lake Center, Branson, Missouri, December 09. Charlie Daniels, and of course the ticket kind of says, what is it, up close? No, that's the production company. Anyhow, my seats were pretty halfway decent. Said no audio, video, or cell phone theater. That was one of those ones. I can't remember. I think I did take pictures because I was a member of the fan club, but I snuck backstage. It's a long story. So me and my son got to meet Charlie, and believe it or not, this almost ended up being his final concert because he ended up going on vacation out in Colorado, if I remember correctly. And he had this big heart attack and almost died out there. This would have been the ticket to his last show. Seriously. He put on an excellent show, though. Him and the rest of the band. These were my tickets for Eddie Money. Yes. When I met Eddie Money, of course, I've got signed for that, too, for when I met him. He was cool. He was cool. Had an added bonus, like I said before, was played in Starship, the Donnie Baldwin, Jefferson Starship, and Elvin Bishop. I got to meet him too and got him to sign his Starship albums because I didn't have any Elvin at the time. July 2005, Deep Purple with Mountain as an opening act. God, what a show that was. They put on a hell of a show. Both bands did. Corky Lang from Mountain, it seemed like after every song was chucking drumsticks into the crowd. I was so pissed off that I was in front row general admission. I wasn't in the seated area, which was like the difference between the stage and the general admission was like 50 feet almost. But Mountain didn't disappoint. If I remember correctly, Richie Scarlett was playing bass for Mountain, which of course he's got associations with Ace Frehley and a few other ones. And then of course Deep Purple, I think if I remember correctly, this was the first tour that did not have John Lord. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but Don Airey was the keyboard player who's been in he was in, if I remember correctly, he was in Rainbow. He was with Ozzy and a bunch of other bands. And it was kind of funny. I can't remember what song it was, but in the middle of the song, he, because it was an instrumental, and it was just him, he quickly did the notes to Mr. Crowley, which I thought was hilarious. Excellent show. I did end up finding the Vince Neil concert ticket from January of 2003. I brought up the Vince Neil story before, but get this. I found the video where I show up being interviewed for this concert. We're trying to hopefully get it converted to DVD, and if I can talk to the host of the show that I was interviewed by, I'm hoping to be able to, sometime maybe later this year, establish permission to post it on my channel, the whole show. I don't know. I mean, I highly doubt they'll flag it, considering that for his show, there's bits of, there's not whole songs, there's bits of performance, like not more than 10 seconds. So Vince Neil, that was probably the most, that was actually a bad show too, not by Vince's part, but the security. September 2005, Alice Cooper, Cheap Trick. Alice opened, Cheap Trick closed. I got to meet, this is the show I got to meet everybody that was in Alice's band. Before the show, Eric Singer, who was drumming, of course, for Kiss at the time, too, along with Alice. Him and me had a short conversation, about a couple minutes. Very nice guy. I am an Eric Singer fan. I am. The man was very, very nice, and we talked about different aspects of music with Alice and Kiss and other bands at the time. Ryan Roxy, who's back with Alice for the last couple of years, he was in a band called Electric Angels. which I found that cassette and got him to sign that. He laughed about that one. And then I cannot remember the rest of the band, but they were all nice. And I got an Alice signed CD at the merch and met the band actually afterwards as they were getting on the bus, and I got everybody to sign that CD, which was awesome. Cheap Trick was also cool too. At the end, Alice Cooper's band and Cheap Trick's band got together for a couple songs. I remember one of them was Money. They did Money, That's What I Want. And that night, Bunny was in a pissed off mood, but he was in a hurry. I don't know if it was a family emergency. I was the first one to get to him, but he curtly said, no, not today, sorry. Boom. I'm like, okay. I ended up getting Robin Zander's autograph on my Dream Police LP, and I thought that was cool. Alright, oh yeah, my October 2005 Davy Jones ticket. I'm never going to forget this show. I'm not. This is the second and final time that I met Davy. Made him laugh. I told you that story before. And then as an added bonus, oh God, I'm not going to remember the name right now. I'm sorry. But I ended up meeting his bass player, who he was in Uriah Heep briefly. Bob Clark. That's it. Clarky. That's what Jones called him. And he played, I think, on one Rainbow album. He played for Uriah. He played for Uriah Heep, I think, on an album. But what I got Bob to sign was the Natural Gas LP, because he was on that with Joey Milan from Badfinger and Jerry Shirley on drums. Excellent album. Very underrated. Clarky even looked at me and goes, where the hell did you find this? So I'm happy to have that in my collection signed, along with the 5 Davy Jones signatures on the albums I have. And I bought his book, Daydream Believer, which is an excellent book. Got him to sign that too. Alright. My portion of... it was in September. It's the best I could tell you. Buckingham's New Colony 6. They played a pumpkin farm in Spring Grove. This was in, I want to say, between 2003 2005. In fact, I kind of feel bad because I got to send some pictures to Ray Graffia from New Colony 6. I did find the Spring Grove Fest, we'll call it. I found the pictures that he wanted for New Colony. I did find them because I think one of the band members passed on from that band since, and I got pictures of the Buckinghams 2 performing. Both nice bands. Ray Graffia, very accommodating. He signed all the NC6 stuff I had at the time. The Buckinghams were very accommodating too. It was 2 members. It was Carl Gimmeries and Nick Fortuna, and you know, they signed all this stuff as well. Very nice people. My heart always will be with the Chicago area bands. Oh, I know this sounds a little weird, but I'm going to tell you what this is about. This is a business card that I happen to have from Little Darlin's Music Works. He's passed away, so this is kind of pointless, but Mike Douglas, and he even gave me his internet address. But I talked to my friend Doug Fields about this at one point or another, but I got the business card. Mike Douglas was a former member of the Diamonds from the 50s. He actually was a member from 58 to when they ended in 63, and then David Somerville basically became solo. We're going to end up having to have a side episode about the Diamonds and the Crew Cuts and the Chordettes and a bunch of other things, and I'll tell you why down the road. But Mike Douglas, unfortunately, he passed away. But it was nice. One of my regular customers knew Mike because he used to run a flea market stall in Florida. It says here St. Petersburg, Florida was his business at the time, and I want to say it was there. So he gave this to me as a gift. Mike sold at his table a Best of Diamonds, and it actually had a picture of Mike in the lineup, which I thought was awesome. And so Mike signed it, for me. I do have it somewhere. I just don't know where it is. But Mike Douglas, former Diamond. Journey, 2004. For the life of me, oh God. Okay, Steve Augeri and Jonathan Cain, they signed this for me. I have a CD too, but I forgot about that they signed this for me. That's awesome. But July 2004, Journey, there wasn't an opening act, if I remember correctly. Very cool show back then. They played everything you expected. And everybody but Neil Schon came out afterwards. March 2005, Wishbone Ash at Chubby Rain's House of Tune in Poplar Grove, Illinois. It's not there anymore. It's a church now. But awesome. It's the Andy Powell lineup. Wishbone was awesome. He signed my copy of Argus and a couple other ones I had that night. Oh, Raw. I used to be a wrestling fan too. I still am. But Raw Live. Let's see. What else do I got? August 2005, Foreigner. Very strange venue. It says here the Galt Airport. Galt Airport is technically between Woodstock and Greenwood, Illinois. It literally is an airport. They had a couple of years with the concerts. This was the first concert that they did there. Oh God, what's his name? Brian Howe. Brian Howe from Bad Company. He was the one that was in the 90s version of Bad Company with feels like I'm walking on holy water. Yeah, I know, I didn't say I could sing. But that song, he went off and mentioned, he goes, that's how he bought his house, was because from the royalties on Holy Water. That's what he said, too. And there was an excellent opening band before Brian, even, too, but I cannot remember their name. Very cool. And then Foreigner were awesome that night. Of course, Mick Jones, he was the only original member. But Jeff Pilson from Dokken, Rockin' with Dokken, yes. And also the extra special for me, which I've got the drums, like I said, is Jason Bonham. Jason Bonham on drums that night. Played Moby Dick, won the Levy Breaks. Rock and roll, awesome. Oh God, was it awesome. You want to get a close feel for that live show stuff? There was an extended version, they call it. Their cheapo stuff you can find at Walmart for $5. There's an extended version. And look for the picture that Jason Bonham is on the front of it, because they've made two extended versions. And one show is not where he's in the lineup for. But we got Front Row GA for that. That was awesome. Two last things, and well, maybe I'll shut up. Maybe I'll show you some else too. This was the billion dollar. No, not the $1 billion. I don't know why it says 100. Oh yeah, it says, yeah, it just says $100. I don't know why the hell it says that. This was what I caught. The little hole there in the bill it was on Alice's rapier, his fencing sword, and he threw it all over the place. And I grabbed this thing. I grabbed it at that Alice Cooper Cheap Trick gig. I had really good pictures from that. Briefly, I got front row shots of Alice and his band. Awesome stuff. Awesome. I'm still glad I have this. I used to have an Angus Young from Money Talks from the Razor's Edge tour, but I stupidly gave it to my ungrateful stepson at the time. And then lastly, Monkey's Bent. I got a promotional postcard. This was back in '96, shortly after when I met Peter